All right, guys, so we're going to bring up Paige Guy to announce this week's highlight of the week. So get your pens, paper ready to go. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
All right, good morning, everyone. So one thing that I wanted to talk about this specific individual is the word dedication. Dedication to D6, dedication to the clients, and dedication to his personal goals. He's been with the district about a year and a few months. And so when he started, he was not a professional salesperson. He came from the trades background. And what that's really shown me over the last course of the year is that anyone can actually win in life if they're dedicated to what they said they were going to do in the beginning, which was, change his career and have a longevity with D6. So he, last time on his highlight, shared about things like dedication to staying healthy-minded, what can you give back to the community, and things like that. Being a professional is a lot more than just showing up to the office a couple times a week and just going and seeing your clients. It's actually about going the extra mile for your clients, being there during the claims process and helping everybody in the office as well, staying after training to help work with individuals, making sure they feel comfortable with their pitch and everything like that. So he's been a real instrumental agent to this office and helping everybody and helping this district grow. So with that, I would like to bring up Zach Van Alstyne. The horn. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Paige. That was so nice. I'm very excited to get to speak to you guys today. I'm always excited. It's always a big honor. It's cool to be the last one of the quarter too. I didn't really know what, like usual, to talk about. So the other day I was kind of debriefing my quarter, what worked, what didn't work, what could get better, and what got better. And I figured I would just speak on that maybe. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit out of what worked for me and don't do what didn't work. So with that being said, the things that work for me, I've said it a million times, I will say it a million more times, is trainings. They're absolutely massive. People pay huge money to go to business seminars and life coaching and all this kind of stuff, but we get free training here twice a week, and it blows my mind when people don't show up. I don't understand it. It's literally changed my life. Like if I could write down everything I've learned from trainings and the things I've accomplished in this year from trainings, if something happened to combine tomorrow, I feel I could take it anywhere, not only get an opportunity, but do very well at that opportunity. So the trainings literally changed my life. Show up to them. They're massive, massive, massive. Second is networking events. That's been absolutely huge for me as well. I've always been terrified to do networking events. I think paradigms and kind of insecurities and stuff like that. But there's nothing to be afraid of. They're fun, they're cheap or free, but pretty much everyone I go to is free. You meet cool people. At the very least, you have some beer and meet some new friends and go home. You're gonna get contacts from it. If they're not to write APV on, there's role models to be met. There's people who have found success in similar industries. Get out there, get in the community and start doing things like that. There's nothing to be afraid of. I promise you, as long as you're not being rude to people, nobody will be rude to you. And then having fun. That's over this quarter, a big thing I realize is it's not about being an expert in insurance and knowing the answer to everything. And that is very important. I'm not saying don't not know your presentations, because know your presentations, it's very important, but there's so much more to it other than the presentation. When you're actually out there having fun in the community, meeting people, that's where the business actually transfers from your warm market into actually being a business person and making those contacts. So have fun with it. It takes a lot of the stress out of it. Just get out there to meet new people and make genuine connections. The other one I took away from this quarter is the 10 meetings. It's absolutely massive. Even if you don't get APV from it, which you will, if you have 10 appointments 2 weeks in a row, I almost guarantee you're going to write at least a winner's score. But if you don't, it creates the feeling that you're actually out there doing it, you're succeeding, people are listening to you. So try your hardest to get 10 meetings. I don't always get 10 meetings, but I certainly try my hardest. This week I have 2, and I'm not going to stop until I get at least another 5 for the rest of the week, so 7 total. And then master your presentations. That one's been absolutely massive for me this quarter. When I started, I thought I had a great presentation, but it changed every time I sat down with people. So there was no real presentation there. I was kind of just going off what I knew in my mind. So over this quarter, I've tried to team up with people. I've gone out with Dan, I've gone out with Randy, I've gone out with a bunch of other people to kind of see what they're doing in their presentation, where they use a joke, how they explain the recovery, the outpatient, how they pair in the income essentials and stuff like that. It will change your business. And the person you're going with as well, you can give them some tips on your presentation. You can almost make a super presentation out of both of them. So I appreciate everybody who spent the time with me to let me learn from their presentation. So thank you. And then getting out of your comfort zone. That's been the big one for me this quarter, is just do the stuff that scares you, because usually the money is on the other side of the thing that scares you. So get out there, network, get in the community. There's nothing to be afraid of. I promise you that. So a few of the things that didn't work for me this quarter, paradigms were a big one. I didn't know what the word even meant until I started with District 6. And actually in Mexico, Derek Chapman did a talk on paradigms about how he was raised and how it kind of affected the way he sees the world. So the way I was raised was very similar. My parents were very closed-minded people. I've never seen them buy anything from a salesperson. I've seen them slam doors in people's faces, yell at salespeople. So that was always my paradigm of like, if I go talk to new people, I could be physically hurt. That's literally what I thought. But it's not like that. It does not happen that way. I'm not even yelled at. No one's got mad at me. Like, I've met some really cool people, exactly the opposite of what I've learned from my parents. So my parents were the exception to the rule. And I guarantee you, if you have paradigms, they're an exception to the rule as well. So challenge them. If you're making up your mind about a situation before it even happens, that's a paradigm. So challenge it. And then this big one for me, and I know a lot of people as well, is watching leaving the pump and running down the hose and playing in the water as soon as it starts to come out. This week is a perfect example of that. It's hard not to do it when you grind it out for 5 weeks and then you finally have a good week and it's a beautiful summer week. It's hard to not kind of step back and sit on a patio and feel like you've done it, because you haven't. 1 week doesn't mean anything. A month does. A good month means a lot, but a week. So don't leave the pump. And I intend to not do that. Like when I have a good week, if I write in some APV, I'm going to try to go home right after that and book another appointment for the next week and hopefully kind of keep it moving that way. And then celebrating your wins is a big one too. Like we all post, or most of us post in the group, in the WhatsApp group, but to actually step back and look at all the things you've accomplished. Like when I kind of step back and look at everything I've learned in this past year and accomplished, it makes it so much easier. Like everybody talks about that chicken list they have and the things that they're afraid to do. But if you actually step back and look at all the things you've done, it makes goal setting a lot easier. It makes you know what you're capable of, and it really improves your confidence. So if you haven't done that, even from the past quarter, just take a step back and look at all the things you've done, because it's probably pretty amazing. And then what also didn't work is not having confidence and having fear. That about halfway through the quarter, I kind of tried to make an effort of everything that scared me and go out and do it, like door to door, business to business. I reached out to people from other districts. I still haven't seen a policy sold on a doorstep, but I believe in it now because I seen the process happen. Nobody pulled out a shotgun on us. Nobody slammed the door in our face. An old lady invited us in and made us cookies and tea. So it's not scary when you actually go do it. I think there's other ways to do it, like the D6 way, but that's not to say that we shouldn't be learning it and doing it. So get out there, do stuff like that. Don't have any fear. And then what could get better for me personally for the next quarter going forward is obviously the things that didn't work. So if I have a good week, making it last a month, keep it going like that. And then what I kind of want to see too is a little bit more unity. Like we have such a big, amazing team as D6. We have a beautiful office. We have an office in Calgary. It would be cool to start doing more stuff together. Like if we can pack out the rooms for trainings, and then after those trainings start rolling through that and building off the emotion, it's so much easier to recruit as well. Like if you can bring people to a room packed full of energetic people, there's nothing, you don't have to sell them on anything because it's just like, look at all the people actually doing it. So more events like that, barbecues, maybe we could have some stuff here, get out in the community as a team. So it's not just one person being like, look what you can do. It's like, look at what we are all doing. We're all amazing people. So start doing more stuff like that. Leveraging each other's strengths. Like if I have a group presentation, I'm going to bring Paige. If Paige has maybe something with contractors, she might bring me. If I have a recruiting thing, maybe I'll bring Mark, and just kind of realizing what people are good at and not trying to take over the whole city by ourselves, and really just kind of like we're all amazing people. We're not just people have some pretty amazing backgrounds here from sales and business and stuff like that. So start leveraging those. Me and Randy have been working together lots. We go networking, we do appointments together, we talk about recruiting and stuff like that. So if you don't have somebody like that, grab somebody. There's lots of people here. More stuff like that. And then what got better over the course, my favorite part of everything. So the things that got better for me is through trainings, I became a genuinely better person in everything, not just in business. Business grew incredibly, but the fact that I know that I'm always here, I'm dedicated to being here, there's no other option, changes your life completely, because now you have a purpose. It's not just a hobby that you're kind of, if somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm ready to write, it's not that. You're a business person, you're building a business. So be at the trainings. I promise you, after a year of being at trainings twice a week, you will elevate yourself to the next level. Networking events, like I said, changed my life completely, changed my paradigms on everything. My self-image, I had a terrible self-image before, and I attract good people. I meet good people. It's really, really cool to get out there and network. And then having no fear, that it makes it more fun. There's nothing to be afraid of. I promise. I was afraid of everything when I first started, and nothing bad has happened to me. Everything has been good. What's the other one here? And then the 10 meetings, that just creates a feeling of success. If you're actually doing it, you're going to get the APV from it. The APV doesn't come. It's not like you have 10 appointments and that week you write 5,000 APV. Start planning this week. In 2 weeks, you'll have 10 appointments. And 2 weeks after that, I almost promise you'll have a winner's score. So I hope this was kind of useful for some people. I'm really excited for the next quarter. I think it's going to be massive for us. If we come together as a team, start packing out the rooms for trainings, it creates a different environment. Like you look at WFG and Primerica and all those, I know we can say terrible things about them, but you can't doubt their power and their size. If you walk into a WFG office, it's almost like a cult. Everybody is there. There is no option. There's not, oh, I don't feel like coming in today. The office is constantly packed, and you feel what they're doing as a movement. And we're doing it as well. It's just, we're all kind of doing it separately. So coming together, it's going to be a huge quarter for us. So thank you guys so much. Honest to God, it's so cool to be in business with everybody, to see you all twice a week. Like I always say, there's not a single person here I don't like. And if there's anything I can do to help anybody, please do not hesitate to let me know. So thank you.
Well, let's give him a huge round of applause. Fantastic, my man. Wow, that's powerful, guys. Let's give him another huge round of applause. Great job, Zach. 1 year in, he's over 62 weeks in field. Showing there, but like if you want what he's got, you got to do what he's doing, and you got to listen to what he's saying, because he's also, when he's saying what he's saying, he's actually doing it. And people are like, well, I want to be successful. Some people are even in this business and just hold on to their license it's like a lottery. Like, oh, maybe one day I'll do it. It's never going to do that. And that's what he said about District 6. Like, people come to the door and come out the door and be gone because they can't. There's no fake humans here. You can trick yourself. You can lie to us. You can tell us, oh, I got this today. I got to go to the airport again for the 14th time today, whatever it is. But you can't trick yourself. And over time, you tell yourself, and you get emotional about it because you're going to be finding out who it is. And you hear what he's saying, 10 appointments, that's what we're talking about, networking events. He's beating that, having fun, abundance of people coming your way. You start changing the mindset, like, I'm going to go to networking events and I'm going to get 10 people to come to me. You start just thinking like that, it starts changing. If like, what, I don't like networking events. I can't find anybody. I can't book appointments. Guess what you're going to get? No appointments, no nothing. But if you just start going, let's have fun with this. Let's go to barbecues. Let's go around. Let's do things as a team. I really love that, Zach. And then just fighting for each other. And we're going to talk about that at the very end. But it's, again, at the trainings and whatnot, you bring let's say somebody in this room is bringing somebody to look at this for the first time. And you didn't want to show up that day because, whatever reason. That person, you're kind of letting your person down on the team, because they want to have the best atmosphere when somebody comes in here. And what if that one person comes in this room and sees this, and then they change their life just like Zach, because they saw the opportunity, because the environments of the Zoom, of the D6, and then Calgary and all that kind of stuff. That's how powerful we can be. We got to be here together. We got to, start shifting everything to be, let's work this thing together, because we're a great team, guys. So great job, Zach. Let's give him a huge round of applause. Fantastic on that, guys. We're going to go to break time here. What do we got? 53, we'll come back at exactly 10:05. We'll come back at 10:05. So have a nice little break, and we'll come back at 10:05. So great job, everybody. All right, turn your neighbor, give him a high five, say, I'm ready to learn. All right, so let's Let's get started here, guys. We're going to run through the first part here is we're going to go through the practical stuff because on every Thursday we want to start getting the practical going, so getting our presentations better. The Form IQ is something that we can always be practicing on, learning better to get that limits better, and you can learn from the person that's next to you or on Zoom. So the first things first is like Paige did a phenomenal job just going through her whole presentation. So now we're breaking down to little parts of it, and then I'll get her to transition for what she's going to do today.
All right, thank you, Mark Andrews. All right, so we are gonna start off with our sizzle. So remember everyone, we had the sizzle. So this is where you are pulling out a piece of paper, you are writing alongside of your Big Blue or your iPad of how this policy pays out. So again, if you were to be an inpatient, which is 20 hours, we will pay you $300 a day. For ICU, if it's a little bit more serious, we will pay $1,500 a day in Canada or the US up to 300 days, 365 days consecutively. Chances are if you went to the ICU, you had to go by ambulance. This is the only part of a plan that is a reimbursement, so you would need to have a receipt in your name. We will pay up to $600. Right now in Edmonton, a minimum flat rate is $358 to take an ambulance, so this would help cover 100% of that. The fourth way we pay out, which is the best part of the plan in my personal opinion, is the recovery benefit, because Combine knows that the hospitals kick you out a little bit sooner than they should before you're fully recovered. So that's where this comes into play. So this is the part of the plan that says we will pay you minimum 10 days for 1 day spent in the hospital or 3 times the amount of days stayed, whichever is greater. So for example, what that would look like is if you spent 1 day in the hospital, we would pay you $300 a day. With your minimum of 10 days, which would be $3,000, which would give you tax-free for 1 night in the hospital, $3,300. That's whether you go back to work or not. Or if it's a little bit more serious, say for example, you're in the hospital for 7 days. 7 times 300 is $2,100 for your hospital confinement stay. Remember how I was saying before the 3 times whichever is greater rule? So that would be you're eligible for 21 recovery days. The 10 is guaranteed if you go back to work or not. The 21 is doctor verified, and you do have to take time off work for those full 21 days in order to receive it. So that would be $6,300 on the recovery, which would give you a tax-free check for $8,400. Now, a lot of people say what this looks like. Oops. Sorry, the fifth way we pay out is outpatient surgery or fractures. That means you have to have a day surgery. Our definition of surgery is opening and closing of the skin or fracture. So that means we will pay up to 14 days at your daily rate, which means you could get up to $4,200. So what that looks like, and so this is my transition from my outpatient portion on the HEA to the Income Essentials accident. So this is the whole flow. You can sizzle everything through, because if they're not interested in the Income Essentials accident, sometimes it's very hard going from product to product to product to product. They get really lost and confused on how the products all work together and why they would need both. So I go straight from the outpatient surgery. I say, so what that would look like here, Mark, is say day 1 you get hurt, we will pay you 14 days. The full $4,200. Now, how long typically does it take to heal a broken bone? 2 months? Okay, so after 14 days, what's gonna happen? We actually have a plan, a disability plan that also stacks like Lego blocks. So if you have one accident, you can actually claim on both of these accident policies. So from day 1 to day 30, we pay out $2,000 on our Income Essentials product. Now, you said sometimes it could take a little bit longer to heal your broken bone. So let's just say it's 45 days. Then we would give you half the plan, which is another $1,000. Or if it was that serious and you were off work for the full 2 months, you would be covered, your mortgage, your car payment, everything like that, because we'd give you an extra $1,000. So essentially for one broken bone and you're off work for 2 months, we would pay you out $8,200 tax-free. Isn't that exciting? Again, we would pay up to 6 months if it went a little bit longer than usual. Then I pull out some testimonials. So for example, if you had a sprain, so that means you didn't have to stay in the hospital overnight as an inpatient, you weren't in the ICU, you didn't have a surgery or a broken bone, that's where this plan is really beneficial. We pay for sprains. So for example, we had a lady who sprained her wrist on a shopping cart. She was totally disabled for 2 months, was unable to carry her kids. she was paid out $4,000 on our Income Essentials plan. She did have the HEA as well, but that plan didn't pay out because, again, she wasn't an inpatient, she didn't have a fracture, she didn't go to the ICU or have a surgery. Second claim here is a man fell off his pedal bike. He actually got a concussion. So he was totally disabled due to the traumatic brain injury, and he was paid $25,000 from combined. So how we were saying, in the first year of owning the Income Essentials product, you will get up to 6 months at $2,000. He also had an income guard as well, which actually covered him for the full amount of what his wages are. So if you're interested in that, we can talk about it later. These are our two most claimed on plans, because the Income Essentials accident pays for any injury. So from a sprained pinky, a stub sprained toe, my auntie only had the $500 a month benefit. She kind of cheaped out. She goes, I'll pay $22 a month. Sprained her toe, was actually off work for an entire month and got the full $500 payout, and then wanted to upgrade because she said $500 wasn't enough. So this is how I transition from the HEA to the IEA. If they aren't interested in this, then you don't open up the Big Blue and you don't go into it. Then I would go straight into the Outpatient Essentials. I would say, this plan right here is our most claimed plan on. I sell it specifically for the Stitches plan, although there is a couple of ways it does pay out as well, which are reimbursements. And I use that, the Outpatient Essentials accident, $11, and the AD&D, the $6, as like an add-on bonus. So it's a $17 upsell. I say, you know, most people get this because it's only $17 a month extra on top of what you already committed to, and this is the value behind it. So that is how I go on a sizzle. After the Form IQ, I do the HEA sizzle. I go straight from the Outpatient Essentials, use the broken bone, and go straight into how long that would take to be off work and how the $2,000 would play on top of that. Awesome. Okay,
Awesome.
we'll bring Mark back up.
Great job, Paige. So guys, we're going to go back and we're going to practice this really quickly here. So as it kind of goes through, I'll just kind of leave it all up there for you guys to see. But this is a really great transition to get to something where you can talk about sprains, right? Because sometimes people are like, what are they thinking? I didn't get a break or anything like that. So you're coming from this one here being like, well, what if I didn't spend a night in the hospital? And you're like, well, that's what this one's for. And then you kind of break that down. But what about a sprain? People are like worried about that kind of stuff, right? So if you have a sprain, they can see this, and then you talk about those two testimonials afterwards, it's massive for them because that means they're getting paid on something. So even if they only were going to get $1,000, it's still $1,000 every month. And our new IEA starts off, and not, you know, how Janelle was talking, like starts off like almost like half the plan. This is full plan right off the beginning, day one. So this is a massive, and this is where almost all of Janelle's claims come from. Is ultimately.
Mark, can I just say a little blurb of what I say, how to explain the difference between the HEA and the IEA? It takes me like 2 seconds.
Sure, yeah.
Say,
just
sure.
what to, but yeah, just finish sentence, but mid-sentence cut off. You're awesome. Must be a delay on the internet. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just say the difference between this is that the Income Essentials accident is a lump sum each month that's going to pay you if you're not confined in the hospital. That's all I say. And then they kind of understand what the difference is, because a lot of the time they're like, what is the difference? And then that's all I say. Just
Okay.
a lump sum each month if you're not confined in the hospital. It's going to pay you each month if you're not confined in the hospital.
Perfect. So guys, yeah, honestly, hearing that people, it can hit home for more people, and talking about the sprains and whatnot too. So let's just go from your HEA that we practiced the other day on your final one. So read this one out, turn to a partner, and let's go through this a couple times. So just go outpatient surgery and then start going through the timeline of what this looks like. So it's like almost like continued sizzle from your HEA. So just go from the last slide that you would be talking about outpatient and then going right into IEA. So just take a quick minute to do this and we'll come back. Maybe just jump across the rooms and try.
Okay.
Give them a high five. Say, may I have your driver's license? Oh. Boom. That's the closer. Boom. So guys, a lot of great things I heard around the room, and we'll maybe touch base on our R2A2s, is practice this, but make sure it's a visual, that you're drawing this out, or you have it tapped on your iPad. Because again, when you're talking this, it's great to know that, but people really see it in visuals. When you actually show the 2 months and where they can get extra paid, and because of a sprain and Zach, I heard, was saying soft tissue, right? A lot of soft tissue. Sometimes you get like dislocated shoulder and you're like, what would I get for that? Or, a blown out knee, right? There's not a break in there, but a lot of people have, blown out knees or torn ACLs, meniscus, all that kind of stuff. So this is that plan for that, where this could be almost advantageous as the HEA. Everybody needs an HEA because something serious happens, they're really taken care of, but you want to have this. It's definitely if somebody's in sports, recreation, and in a work environment. So great job. Let's give Paige another huge round of applause. All right. So we're going to get right into, guys, when we were talking about the continuation from last day of making sure you know where your goals are, setting up this next quarter and next 6 months, know where you're going and all that kind of stuff. Most people don't set goals because they don't know where they're going or even know where they're at. And I'm just one of these people before, guys. I didn't know. I just kind of waking up like an accident every single day, not knowing what I'm doing. Nothing's going to change. But when you start setting goals, it's so funny how your life can change in that direction. Then you start to implement certain things, but you've got to write it down. You should almost write it down every single week, your goal. That's why, on Sundays, we come here and we just write down our goals, because it just becomes fresher and fresher, because you can let another week go by. As long as you're writing it down, there's something magical about it, and actually, setting the intention there. But to get into a couple of things and a little bit of what we talked about on Monday there was invisible to emergence to stability to abundance to power. To get to abundance where we all want to be, you've got to go through all the levels to get there. You can't just be here, right? I've made it. I need to go on vacation. I'm going to borrow some money. Don't worry, I'm going to be rich later. These things will all just fold in. It doesn't work like that. The universe, yourself, will not allow yourself trick until you go through all these steps. And sometimes you get here, and then like Zach was saying, you're pumping the well, and then you're watching the water, and guess what happens? You go back to emergency, and then you maybe even go back to invisible. This is a business that we haven't experienced, and no one in the companies, and the only people that I know in insurance or realtors, they've been putting in 10, 15, 20 years. But here I really believe, because you can talk to everybody, you could probably get there in 3 years to 5 years, that you actually become the name, and people start knowing who you are and all that kind of stuff. People start really coming to you, because you can hear it with Anne-Marie, you can hear it with Jenny's, you can hear it with Dan's, you can hear it with a lot of people, as long as you're consistently going through this to get to here. But it doesn't mean this is time for vacation, right? You don't pay bills here. You don't do anything like that. You pay bills here. So you're just kind of making sure, pay your bills, sorry. Pay your debts, sorry. But knowing, understanding this is how business works, guys. But we've got to get you guys as fast as we can through invisible to emergence to here. Because when we have the standard in this office, and you'll find this out, the faster people get to here, the more income, the more people are getting protected, which means the more lives that are being financially saved. So it's a very, very great way of doing things. So again, being at the trainings, knowing, plugging in, all that kind of stuff makes sense. But what's your plan to get there? So I'm gonna go through a couple little scenarios here, guys. The first things first is, there's a new thing that Combine does, and I'm gonna let you guys know about it. It's new, and I'm gonna kind of give this the staple of we're gonna talk about today. So when somebody new comes in, they have a new thing called a guarantee. Now they used to have this when, like a long time when Derek started on board, and what it is you get, it's a new option for new hires. So you can have the traditional way that we all came in, right? You come out, you're full commission, and you get, an extra $500 in your first week in your iPad and all that kind of stuff. You still get all that. But now you have an option for certain agents, for certain people that want to make a transition from some other thing full-time. And again, they have to be full-time. If they have some other type of income, this doesn't exist. So if they're coming full-time and they want to have something, we can give them a guaranteed amount every single week up to 13 weeks. So it's almost like a transition of getting paid for this, right? It's brand new, just came out. And the reason why it hasn't been is because the model of how some of the Combine came out there of hiring doesn't work in this thing, because there's not enough to do in the day. So with the old traditional Combine, they have to go knock doors for 8 hours. They have to go do old accounts for 8 hours, right? So there's stuff for them to do in the week. So in 5 days, they have to be doing so much stuff. And in our model, it's not like that, right? We have 2 trainings a week. We can't be like, you come to 2 trainings a week and we'll give you, $500. It doesn't work like that, because you need results, right? Because again, the district and the sales leader are responsible for this at the end of the day. So the people not doing stuff, they don't get it, right? So I'm just going to kind of go through this a little bit of an idea so you can understand where I'm coming from. So you can get $500 for 13 weeks. We can also get it up to 600, 700, something that we agree upon. So somebody starts out, so instead of getting commission, they're going to get guaranteed income every single week. Now, what's cool about this is they get the income so they can pay their bills, but they don't get the extra commission. Because if somebody comes out the gates and like, I know I can go do this thing, then this is probably not for you, because this is where you can start making 2, 3, 4 grand when you first started, you know, like Anthony and a lot of people that really started strong. So this is for that. But at the same time, if somebody doesn't come to the trainings or doesn't do the requirements that we ask for, they don't get paid the 500. So it's not a guarantee that they're going to get it. They have to do the certain steps to be there. So it's almost kind of like a transition from a job that they had to a job to 100% commission. Does that make sense with everybody? Everybody kind of following along? So this is a new system they're putting through. Again, it has to go through everybody has to sign off on it because this is an actual contract. So if you're thinking of somebody like, oh, you know, this person always wanted to come and join us, but he just was scared about that little transition, right? Again, you still have to sit down with us to make sure it's all going to work out. Then the rest of the commissions at the end. So this is kind of cool. So it's a contract of activity to receive the 500. So again, it's not based on APV, but it's based on activity for this. So this is really great. So they can receive $500 a week, which gives them $2,000 a month, or if it's $600 a week, it's $2,400 a month. It might be just enough for them to pay their bills in their first 3 months, right? What's cool about it is all that you make in the commissions will come at the end, so minus what you've been paid. So it's a really cool factor is that you're not just going out there and do that. You want to get as much commissions because at the end of the 13 weeks, you're going to get a nice chunk of change for what you've done. So you're going to, not only are you going to get paid along the way, when it comes out at the end, you will get a chunk of change. So you get all that APV. So let's say, just for one example, so we're just going to start off with just this one, 500 times 13 equals $6,000, right? So it's about 12, but it earns about $6,000, just to say. So they've been paid 3 months, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Does that make sense to everybody? This is what they've been paid. Let's say over that 3 months, they did 30,000 APV, right? Very doable. We have a lot of agents that do 40, 50. It's a winner score week. It's just making sure you're going out there, but you're also getting those agents are actually working, right? They're making sure they're doing stuff. They can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to book one appointment for the week. No, it doesn't work like that because they're getting guaranteed. So over that time, that would get an agent excited to be like, at the end of this, I can get paid. So I'm going to get paid now, and at the end of this, I can get a nice bonus check. So 30,000 APV in upfront money after the 20 is about $15,750. Okay, so if we just do the math really quickly here, 15,750 minus 6,000 minus 1,000 because you got to build up that $1,000 account equals $8,750 at the end of the 3 months. So they've been paid the 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. At the end of it, they'll get $8,750 plus their bonuses that happened in that time frame. So all we flushed out into that account. So it could be around $10,000 or something like that over the next 3 months. So it's a nice, cool incentive to be like, I want to go do everything I've got. But also they're being held accountable every single week. So that means they're at both trainings and then they have to do certain things throughout the week. So here's a disclaimer with, let's say, Derek's team, and this is not for me, but they have to go knock doors for 8 hours every single day, 5 days a week. Who's up for that? The empty chairs will say that they're ready for that, right? So guys, obviously we don't want to be doing that, right? Or taking old lead cards and going to get premium for 10% of $150 and it's like 20 bucks. Who wants to do that in a day? Not for us, right? But because they do that, they can almost guarantee that they'll get referrals and then they'll start to generate an income because over 3 months, it really does build up. They get the skill set because they're out there and they're doing activity. But if they don't do that, they miss 1 day of any of that, unless something really bad happens, they don't get paid the money. And that's up to the sales leader and the district leader to make sure that is being issued towards them. Does that make sense, everybody? So with our model, the whole point of the whole thing here is, this is real. So that's cool. So if you talk to your sales leader and talk to myself about more details on this, but the idea behind this is how many presentations, if you're a sales leader or a district leader, would you want every single day, 5 days a week, let's just say 5 days, would you want them to be doing? So instead of somebody knocking doors for 8 hours, and they've probably done 20 presentations by just showing somebody really quickly, how many presentations would you think, if you're a business person, would you want your new person to be doing every single day? If you're paying them out of your pocket, how much? 3, 5, 10, right? Zoom,
Min-
Calgary, yeah,
Minimal 3.
minimal 3. So let's just go with that. Minimal 3 appointments is what you would want to guarantee so that they're doing 3 appointments every day. And is that really, if you put that into perspective, 2 trainings a week, 3 meetings a day, is that doable, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It's 100% absolutely done. So it's like each appointment mainly is probably an hour. And if you're there longer, it's mainly because they're getting stuff and you're making business and getting referrals. So 3 hours plus your training at max 2 days a week that you're doing maybe 6 hours, and the other days they're doing guaranteed at this time. So that's their only goal, is to make sure they have these appointments. And then we also train them, teach them all the extra stuff behind the back office, all that kind of stuff in amongst those 3 months. But then they come out and do this. But what I'm getting at, the whole point is that if that's somebody else that you would have in your business, then why wouldn't we be doing that? Because this is what our business model is. You should be doing 3 appointments every single day. And I know some people are like, even Zach will be like, it's tough sometimes, right? But once you build that funnel and you start getting on it, as you've seen what Ginny did on Monday, is that sometimes people cancel, but because she continually going to networking events, continually to doing this, it just falls into the next week and it falls into the next week. The next thing you know, it's maybe 3 weeks later, then they're finally ready, but it's a funnel building the system. That's why outside sales, you get paid so much money, because you've got to learn how to build a funnel all the time, right? You're not at a car dealership and they're just walking through the door and like, oh, I don't want to buy a car. Then why are you here? Like walk over, right? For us, we're surprising people. We're making delicious Subway sandwiches or insurance sandwiches every single time. You got to get clever. You got to get this. So when we go through this really quickly, what if you did 2 appointments a day? So we're going to go to 2 and then we're going to go to 3. So 2 appointments a day, 2 appointments a day per day for 5 days a week equals 10 appointments, right? 10 appointments per week times 4 weeks in a month equals 40 appointments, right? This is sweet math. And then 40 appointments per month times 3 equals 120 appointments per quarter. So for them getting paid for their 13 weeks or for their 3 months, which is a quarter here, they're going to have 120 appointments. Who would like to have 120 appointments? Right? 100%. Now, this is the only way that they would get paid is if he did this, right? So you got to think of this. People will do a lot more in a job, which is weirdly enough, right? I get 120 appointments. What if you only closed 1/3 of them? I know a lot of people in the office are like, I'm at 80%, I'm at 90%. Some people are like, I'm at 100%. But what if you only closed 1/3 of those people, right? And our average is 1,000 APV. That's what we're about 900 and something APV per sale, right? So it's 40,000 APV per quarter. And that's at 33% closing ratio. Pretty much sometimes you're just being like, you know what? I don't think you need this, right? Like that's some of your strategy. So guys, I know most agents, like they like, I can get this many. So the problem is never for us as D6 is when we're here, it's just to get here, to get these appointments. So then we break it out. That's $21,000 in upfront income, plus bonuses, plus $7,000. This is how crazy this is. $7,000 in months 10, 11, and 12. That will be starting to circulate. So when you guys start hearing us talk about next year's residual, it's that much easier, because if you just go do that in a quarter, you're going to make $7,000 next year. So you do that 4 times in a year, right? Do the math, it's $28,000 on your month 10, 11, 12. It's so advantageous, and it's a fantastic way of getting paid. And then plus your bonuses, plus trips and all that kind of fun stuff. Does that sound great? Yes. 10 appointments a week, got to do it. You're like, okay, but it's the laser focus. We'll talk about that in a second here. What if you did 3 appointments per day? 3 appointments per day at 5 days per week equals 15. 15 appointments per week times 4 weeks in a month is 60. 60 appointments per month times 3 equals 180 appointments. Who would like that? Have 180 appointments, right? These are presentations. These are not, hey, playing Yahtzee and stuff. It's full out presentations. What if you only closed 1 out of 3 of those, and our average APV is 1,000? So same thing. Your closing ratio is only 1 out of 3, which I think would be a lot higher. That's 60,000 APV per quarter. That means you're making 31,500 in upfront income, plus bonuses, plus 10,500 in residuals for the next year, month 10, 11, 12. Do you guys know how like crazy that awesome that is? So it's like my job is just to get sat down and do 15 presentations for the week. It's not anything else. I come to the 2 trains, I get pumped up, they give me some type of energy or they give me a motivational video, whatever it is, and I take that energy and I go out and I'm making sure I'm having these appointments. But you've got to start to build the funnel. So when you're watching Ginny and let's just say Anne Marie. So side note behind everything, guys, I'm going to talk about this in at Karen's cabin, but for the first time D6, guys, we have 2 people just over 85,000 APV in a cycle. So let's give them both a huge round of applause. Now, what's exciting about that and why I get so pumped about it, and it was my win today for what the district has done. We've always had one person do that. We've always had maybe one person get to 80 or 90,000 or 70,000 for the quarter, and then everybody else there. But now we have 2. That means now we can have 3. That means we can have 4. That means we can have 5. That means this can become the standard. And all that they've done is that they constantly book appointments. We've seen Teresa do it also at the same time where she had a month and she, you still get paid for that. And she talked about it in her training the other day. She went out and made over, $25,000, $30,000 in a 4-month period. And this is what we're talking about, guys, in a 4-month period, in a 4-week period, 4-week period. So because she built up the funnel of what this is. So it's constantly just thinking in your head, I need to get this many appointments. And then obviously if your closing ratio is this much better, where does your income go? Right? Some people are saying 80%, some people are saying 100%. So where does that go, right? Because maybe the next visit, the next sit down, but I mean, that is not even keeping you that crazy busy 3 appointments a day. You see Ginny, she's got her whole life on there. She's picking up her kids, she's going here, she's going there, and then she's having her 3 appointments. And if one cancels, she's putting to the next day, she's going to a networking event. But that's how you build to have an income where if you actually do the math on that whole thing, if they do 180 times 2 is 160, and you get the income on that, you're making $140,000, $150,000 a year, and that's not even to do with residuals for the next year. Doesn't it? That gets exciting, right? And we're having people do that by just following the system. And you're not like, you're not working 20 hours a day. You're probably not even working 6 really. But this is the kind of thing you want to build the funnel up until this starts going. Does that get people excited?
Yes.
3. I'm just joking. No, that gets us. And then on top of that, guys, so this is something we've been pushing through. I'm just going to throw the word out there. Vested residuals are coming soon. So it's going to be a new thing that comes out, and people that have on your sales, you'll be getting a vested residual, which pretty much means when you leave the company, you still get paid. So with this right now, all the clients still are combines, but now you'll get paid a vested residual when you leave for all the customers that you've got. Does that sound exciting? Yeah. Cool thing is that what they've done is like after 10 years, you'll get that, you get your vested residuals, and they're talking percentages that it can be anywhere between 7 and 10%. So if you've done over, 100,000, right? 10% of that could be 10 grand a year coming just from the 100,000. So what I was talking to Guy about was like, well, let's maybe fast track that. What if somebody wants to go get to a certain amount? They're like, well, maybe it's 500,000 over 10 years. We're like, what if somebody wants to do it in 3 to 5? And he goes, okay. So they're going to make a plan that if you want to go get here faster, you can get paid your vested residuals on top of that if you get to this certain position in the company or at a certain amount of sales and stuff like that. So now it's about advantageous for you to go out there, do appointments and all that kind of stuff so you can have this, because this is a real life retirement plan that you're going to get paid off all these customers, all the hard work that you've ever done. This is amazing steps in this company. People have been asking for this for a long time. They're now willing to go do it. It should be coming out in the next handful of months. This is massive, guys, where this is going to go here. So now you can actually build up a real residual and a walk away income if you want to stop this and go travel the world. But it's now based on how many times pretty much you get in front of people. Because the thing is about not our closing ratio, something like that, just how many people we can get in front of. So now we got to be super clever and be like, I've got to get down, I got to get 15 appointments or something like that, which is going to be 10 presentations. What's the ways? How clever do I need to be? How do I need to talk? We're like, Paige and I were talking just the other day. I'm like, everybody in the Earls that day, they're either extras in our own movie, right? Or we could walk up and just be like, hey, here's a customer, and hey, how you doing? You get sick or hurt? No, okay, and then just go to the next person, having fun with it. But at the end of the day, like Zach said, there's no fear behind it. Guys, honestly, this kind of income and everything can change for you because now it's limitless of what we have here in this business. Does that get people excited? Yes. No one knows about this, so keep that on the but I'm just going to let you guys know. So plan to succeed here, guys. So we talked about this. I want you to make sure this is going to touch base on this really quickly. You're going to go through this really quick is what is your 5-year plan and what is the big picture? So this is something I'm going to spend a lot more time on or where you can be. So when Zach said he goes, looks back at, just the last 6 months, how much has he grown? How much is what's happened in the last year? We overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 5. No one, even in our business right now, is at 5 years. So we wouldn't even know what's going to happen when this thing really takes off. So what is the big picture for yourself? For District 6, how much money are you making and how much can you? So we all kind of saw a little bit of a plan there. So just knowing that, so making sure you're writing that question down. What is your goal for this quarter and this cycle? So what is your goal for this quarter over the next little bit? How many presentations do you want to have? Do you want to have 120 presentations, which is going to pretty much get you an income of 40,000 APV. If you do that 1, 2, 3 times a year, like it starts to become quite advantageous, right? And this is all that Jenny, Anne-Marie's, Dan's, and all the people who have done this did, is they made sure that all these presentations were there. And that's the whole thing. So there's not about APV, don't worry about APV, just how many presentations do I need to get in front of? So this quarter, if you want to make this certain amount of income, you can kind of write it that way. So write down how many presentations, do you want to have in the next quarter? How much APV do you want? And all that kind of fun stuff. So how many presentations do you want per quarter, and then break it down per week. So let's just take, honestly, a quick minute for this one, and then we'll also add this one to it. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be maybe even be a sales leader? Do you want to go through WCS? Do you want to go from maybe initial pin all the way up to your first grand diamond over the next cycle, right? Right. We had a couple of people. We have a WCS award with District 6 of how many people have moved so many in a cycle, right? So we also have the trip. Do you want to get on the next trip? What does that look like, right? So guaranteed, if you're starting to do 40,000 APV per quarter, you're pretty much guaranteed on the trip, 100%, and you're making a great income. So guys, just understanding that these are some of the things you want to go for. And we'll just leave it there. So just take a quick 2 minutes here, guys, kind of going through a few of these, just writing them down, so it becomes real. So what is your goal for this quarter and this cycle? So the cycle is 2 quarters. So it'll be over the 6 months. So if you're like, okay, I want to do this many appointments, and maybe your thing is just like, oh, yeah, maybe I want to start at 7 appointments for the week or whatever it is. So just take a handful of minutes here and we'll come back. All right, so let's get just quick rapid fire, even on Zoom, just say your number out really quick of how many presentations do you want to make sure you have every single week.
10.
10 we got from 10 from Paige.
I want 10. But then we usually have like 8. Is like usually
10. 10 from Mitch. 10 from Anthony. What do we got on Zoom?
10 from Janelle. 10 from Tess.
Nice.
10
10 from Stacy. Going to school soon. 10 to 15. Whoa, we got a 15 in the room.
Who said that?
15 to 20 from Teresa.
Wow.
We got it. We got it. All right. Anything from Calgary?
We've just been unmuted. 15 to 20.
Wow.
Yes, Maura.
I'm a little more conservative. I'm committing to a minimum of 5 and going up from there.
Love it. Love it, Kathy. Great job. So awesome around the board, guys. Give everybody a huge round of applause, guys. So what this can do is, like, now it's take all the other energy off. What do I need to do? How many appointments do I need to book? What do I need to improve on, right? So we have the incentives going through this week, guys, where you have all these presentations. So what we also get to find out about yourself is like, okay, I got 10 presentations last week, but I didn't get any APV. So now it's like, okay, and now I need to bring a sales leader or somebody else with me to check out my presentation to make sure I'm doing it properly. Or it's like, some people are like this, I don't have any appointments booked. Uh-oh, well, we need to teach how to book an appointment, right? And book an appointment is not just like, hey, just if you're free next week at any time, anywhere, I'll be there. That's not book an appointment, guys. You got to have posture. You got to let them people know that, like, hey, when are you free next week? I have Monday and Wednesday open. Which one works better for you? Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday I have either 3 or 7. Does any of that work for you? No, I'm not free till 8. Oh, okay. I did have, what I could do is I could move something around, but if you're guaranteeing me for 8, I'll be there Wednesday at 8. Now, what side of the city do you live on? Oh, you're on the south side. Oh, that actually works out really nicely with my schedule. So I'll actually try to stay south here. So making sure that I'll stay south and I can come meet you afterwards. So I'll actually come to you, right? So does that sound good? Fantastic. So I'll be there at 8 no matter what. Again, we got to make this as concrete as possible because again, I'm pretty much planning my whole week where I'm going to be, and this is where I'm going to be, and I don't want to be having to go north side afterwards. So I'm going to be stuck with you. Does that sound good? Yeah. Perfect. So Wednesday at 8, I'll be at your house. So you can just text me your address. Done. That's posture. That's what you want to talk about. You don't want to have it, you know, whenever you can think about it, you know, call me next year. That's not how you book. You don't be too available. You just give them 2 choices and you are busy, and then you will correct being busy because then you start having a calendar like Ginny. So give yourselves a huge round of applause. All right, guys. So next up, we're going to get right into the video. So the video here today, guys, is a lot about what we talk about, a lot about what we do in District 6, but a lot of it is almost like a responsibility for us to go out there and do more. And to do more. So it's Jordan Peterson again, and I've held onto this video for a little while because it's really, really powerful in the fact of what he's saying is that we have a responsibility to be more efficient, to be better and do all that kind of stuff, right? Or you can go back and just being no responsibilities and just kind of going through your days. It's a kind of a thing where we have a responsibility, not just for us, but for the people next to us, to the people that need these products, to our families, to all that kind of stuff is what we're setting up here. And we have probably one of the greatest opportunities to go do it. So this is a great video. So it's in the group, push play in Calgary, push play on Zoom, and we'll push play here and we'll come back in a handful. The speaker today or the video, the idea I got was what it means to me, here's how I'll use it, and my starting date is. So guys, we'll just take a quick minute and then we'll do quick little shares and we'll be done for the day. All right, let's start finishing up. Turn your neighbor, give him a high five and say it's R2A2 time.
R2A2 time.
All right, so let's get, we'll start off in Calgary for a share. Just on what, somebody just there, that's what's your R2A2. So the idea I got was what it means to me, here's how I'll use it, and my starting date is. So we'll start off in Calgary. Or we'll start with Zoom and then we'll go to Calgary. Who would like to do Zoom?
Okay, so the idea that I got was, the speaker was Zach, and the idea I got was to challenge paradigms, which means to me that the best things happen outside of your comfort zone. How I'll use it is embracing and seeking discomfort and getting rid of preconceived ideas of how things will go before they even happen, and start date is today.
Oh, fantastic. Big D6 one clap. Great job, 100%. All right, let's go to Calgary for one.
I went with Zach as well, and it was kind of the whole highlight that he did, where he evaluated the end of the cycle and what worked, didn't work, could get better and got better. And a lot of the things that he said that he struggles with were very similar things to that I struggle with. And so that meant a lot to me because it shows me I'm not alone. And so when I get home later today, I've got a couple of meetings, but when I get home later today, I'm going to evaluate my cycle. And so I'm going to do that today.
Awesome, Kathy. Great job. D6 one clap. Great job. All right, let's go to Edmonton to Teresa.
Good morning. Although I got 14 gold nuggets from you, Zach, and lots of great stuff from the video, I chose Paige. Paige, we've been doing this for a long time. I really loved your flow when it came to presentation, because what it really does for me is it allows me to deal with objections through the presentation, like, well, what if you're not hospitalized? What if you didn't get a break? So brought it right into soft tissue damage and all those things. And then from there, being able to bring that from there into OEA by saying, well, sometimes there is no recovery period. This is a nice flat fee, and bringing that into OEA was a great flow. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great job. Big D6 one clap. Love that. You can actually handle the objections by just saying, I know what you're thinking. What if they don't stay overnight, right? I know what you're thinking. What if it's not a break? and you're already handling those objections, and you're coming, you know, taking them on a little bit of a journey of the common things that we all would actually think right across the board, right? So great job. So let's start off with that, guys. Honestly, you know, Zach, you know, fight for one another. You know, R2H2 probably across the board is like, if we can go together and work together and start, you know, instead of just being lone rangers all the time, we can do so much more when we go out there and you buddy up with somebody. We start going in groups. You know, I heard some people like, oh, we should go to this event here. And most people are just like, nah, you know, I'd rather not, because am I going to win from that? But we all win if we come together, because you're going to learn and grow. So fantastic, Zach. And just to, like, you know, show up and watch the growth. Just continue to show up, and you'll see you see yourself change in this much time, and you can see it in himself, and he embraces this, because he's like, there's no way. When he's talking about the video, he's like, there's no way I'm going back, because he knows too much now. And unfortunately, everybody, if you've been to a couple trainings, you know too much now, and you can't just go back, because it's going to be in your head. Trust me, it'll drive you crazy. And that's what we're talking about. You have the responsibility to go change the people around you. So let's give Zach a huge round of applause. Great job, Zach. And then we had Paige Guy coming up here and did a fantastic job on showing the transition. So practicing, making it visual, taking people along for a journey, finding out, talking about things that they are common, you know, things. And remember, you guys are going back to her presentation when she was talking about all those things. And then it's going, again, it's reminders in her presentation, because it's a sum up of the Form IQ and everything that she's talked about before. So great job, Paige. Give her a huge round of applause. And then great job, honestly, to everybody here for throwing out their numbers. You know, that becomes real when you throw it out there, and the commitment and all that kind of stuff. We just start really thinking, I just got to make sure I get those 5. So I got to every book 10 to 15 appointments. I got to do whatever it takes. But Mark, you know, I don't know if I can get the 15 appointments. Then you won't get them. If you're like, you know what, I can't wait. They're going to come to me, but it might take me a couple of weeks, but I'm going to keep doing what it is. And that's what all the people have shown us. This is not make-believe. This is what the top people in our district are doing, is constantly just doing it again and again and again. So let's give yourselves a huge round of applause. And finally, guys, here, you know, humans can be amazing if we work together. And I think that's what the point of the video is sometimes humans can be super negative if we work together that way. We all can point fingers at everything, watch the news, you can do that. It's fascinating how many times people can point at this person and then this person, But in this office, we're something special here. There's something that is growing here, that you're, over the time in these years that you be here, you'll probably grow into somebody even more special. And you can go out there and impact people and show people that you can actually be good, healthy, and successful, and not just one out of the 3, you know, which is massive here. So guys, I mean, the team, if we work together, the team gets better. If the team gets better, the company gets better. If the company gets better, in the future, you don't know what can happen. The world can actually get better. But it all starts from here, where we are right now, right? So it's just, you know, we don't know how great we can be, but when you start to when we talk about, you know, hitting your goal, and I'm like, what are you guys willing to give up until the weekend? But how many times have you ever done it when you actually really said, I've got to get 10, and then you just stopped at 2 because you didn't think you could do it, and it was on Tuesday? Do you know what I mean? But what if you figured out that you pushed right till Sunday? But Mark, I got this going on. I have this going on. Sometimes you got to let that go, because who cares? No one's going to miss that. But if you actually find out what you're made of every single week, and you know what, over the next 4 weeks here, I only hit 6 this week, but next week I hit 14. And the week after that, I hit 12. And then you made up for it, and then you hit 40, and you're like, wow, look what I've done. That's what we're talking about. That's what District 6, that's the standard that everybody, the leaders, are telling you about, is that, like, push yourself, find out who you really are, because that's the most advantageous thing. Guys, I want to be in business with everybody here. I want to be in business with Zach. I want to be in business with Stacy. I want to be in business with Kathy. I want to be in business with everybody here, because we're going to go push that standard. But we got to embrace our greatness and go out there and do things that's never been done before in this company. Surprise the crap out of them. You get compensated for it. Go out there, take the pressure off yourself. Just go get appointments. Guys, we have incentives on Monday. Next Monday, I guess it'll be next Thursday, we'll be getting but put your numbers in by this Sunday night of what you did doing presentations. It's not based on money. It's not based on APV. It's just based on how many times you go out there and show this plan. Guys, we have a funnest time. We're gonna have the best time at the cabin, but let's push forward. Let's have it Summer Sizzler. Make sure you guys don't take a whole week off here with Canada Day. Make sure you're working that day and moving forward. Let's all work this thing together, guys. We can do so many great things. So with that, we're District 6, Ann? District 6, Ann? We got this. We're District 6, Ann?
We got this.
All right, turn to your neighbor and give him a high five and say, we got this.
We got this.
Great job, everybody.
We